Hello, YouTube divers. This is WaterDive 122, and I want to welcome you all to another episode of Magic Metal Mondays. So today we are back here reviewing another Sonata Arctica album. This is the last album that we will review in depth from the band. And then after that, we will have made one review video for each album in their entire discography, including Clear Cold Beyond, their latest album. But we're going to be talking about their previous album from 2019 entitled Talviyo, which is Finnish for winter. And, yeah. If y'all remember from my Sonata Arctica album ranking, this one was another one of my favorite Sonata Arctica albums. In fact, I believe I called it the most underrated album the band has ever delivered thus far. And I still highly consider that, because this album gets way too much hate. Like, I understand that this is not going to be the Sonata Arctica that many older fans will know. This is a very slow, ambient, and atmospheric album. This is anything but a power metal album. But in my opinion, this new direction is where this album shines. If you ask me, because pretty much everything I said about the previous album, The Ninth Hour, essentially applies here, but there are a few more upbeat and rockin' songs on here compared to The Ninth Hour. But yeah, with Talviyo, this album basically capitalizes on what The Ninth Hour was going for in terms of atmosphere and ambience. This is a very wintry, cold, icy album. And in my opinion, no other band is as good of capturing this kind of atmosphere as Sonata Arctica are, in my opinion. And Talviyo is one of the best examples I can give you. But yeah, so there's 11 songs across this album, and it features the same lineup as we've gotten on the previous two albums, with Toni Kakko on vocals, Elias Vilhinen on the guitars, Pasi Kapanen on bass, Henry Klickenberg on the keyboards, and Tommy Portimo on drums. And once again, the songwriting just takes a massive step up here. Toni Kakko is once again back to his old songwriting ways, or at least, to an extent. He's still trying new things here as a composer, but it works. I'll just put it to you that way, and we're going to discuss why right now. So let's get into it. So the album opens up with Message from the Sun, which is a very, very nice heavy metal track. I really love the melodies throughout here. I love the key changes. This was a big thing throughout this era of Sonata Arctica. I really love that chorus. It is so nice and just very, very vibrant. I'll put it to you that way. It's a very vibrant song. Same can be said for the next song, Whirlwind, which is one of the longer tracks on this album. I believe it's 6.5 minutes long. And, yeah. This is a very nice, very nice heavy metal song. I really love all the key changes, the melodies throughout this cut, and all the different time signatures and rhythm changes. Like, this is a song that I feel like, maybe this era of Dream Theater might be able to make, albeit a way watered down version. But point still stands. Anywho, then we get the first quote unquote weak track on this album, and that is Cold. One of the few singles that was released from this album. It also featured a music video. With Cold, it's fine, but I feel like it's a more watered down version of the previous two songs, if you ask me. And then we get to Storm the Armada, which is pretty much a watered down version of all the previous three songs. So essentially, these first four songs, in my opinion, kind of bleed into one another. I will say, though, the Message from the Sun is a little bit brighter and optimistic, and Whirlwind is kind of the opposite of that, where it's a little bit more darker and experimental. But with Cold and Storm the Armada, they basically just feel like one song put together. And this is an issue that I've had on a few records, not just by Sonata Arctica, but by other bands as well. Most famously or infamously, depending on how you look at it. I had this issue with Awake, the third studio album from Dream Theater, where pretty much a lot of the songs just felt like they bled into one another and they didn't really do anything to turn my head as to like, when's something new going to happen? Like, when are they going to try? When are they going to try something else? That I get a lot of those vibes with Cold and Storm the Armada. They are essentially the same song, um, and it's for that reason why I think they're the two weakest tracks on the album. But then, fortunately, from the next song onwards, this album just goes off. The Last of the Lambs, the Caleb Saga song from Talviyo, a very dark and eerie atmospheric ballad, which just has which just has some of the most haunting vibes in all of Sonata Arctica's career, if you ask me. And you know, for a story saga like the Caleb Saga, basically talking about a psychopath who murders his girlfriend over them not lasting together or something like that, I think it's a very fitting song for this saga. Then we have Who Failed the Most, which is a very nice rockin' track, basically a better version of Message from the Sun, if you ask me. Yeah, it's almost as if they went into the studio and had all these songs made, and they put them all on the record. It's just basically better versions of some of the previous songs. But yeah, Who Failed the Most, a very catchy heavy metal song. And then we get the instrumental track on Ismos Got Good Reactors, and this is, in my opinion, the best track on this album. I really love the chemistry that Elias Vilhanen, Pasi Kapanen, Henrik Klickenberg, and Tommy Portimo have as musicians here. Like, the musicianship on this song, or this piece, anywho, is very, very nice, very well written. You could definitely see that Tony Kakko is once again flexing his composer muscles throughout this cut. I especially love that bass tone that Pasi Kapanen has throughout this cut, and his bass just sounds very punchy, very meaty. Just, I love that sound. But yeah, overall, Ismos Got Good Reactors, very nice instrumental. I love it. Then we get The Demon's Cage, which probably has Tony Kakko's best vocal performance on this album. It is, like with Who Failed the Most, it is very fun, and it's very energetic and wintry and icy. Yeah, but the chorus in this song in particular, I think the song has the best chorus on the entire album, if you ask me. It's very nice, it's very lush, it's very cold. It's just a great moment on this album, I will say. Then we have A Little Less Understanding, which is, in my opinion, the most underrated song on this album. Nobody talks about this song, and I'll admit, when I was first listening through Sonata Arctica's discography, I totally forgot about this song, and shame on me, I guess, because this song is brilliant. This song is brilliant. I will admit, though, it does kind of bleed in a little bit from The Demon's Cage, but The Demon's Cage, at least, is a little bit more dark, is way darker in some areas than with A Little Less Understanding. A Little Less Understanding is more of a anthemic rock song, not a power metal song per se, but more of a anthemic rock song, where The Demon's Cage is more of that modern metal, prog metal that Sonata Arctica was doing in this era. So I can at least admire both of these tracks for being at least a little bit different from each other. But both have amazing choruses, both have amazing melodies. They're both fantastic tracks. And then we get to The Raven Still Flies. This is a mini epic, 7.5 minutes long. Yeah. Wow. The Raven Still Flies is a really amazing song. And shout out to Tommy Portimo, who delivers an amazing drum solo throughout this song. It is amazing. I absolutely love it. Posse Koppinen once again pumping it out on the bass, and Tony Kakko, once again, another phenomenal vocal performance from him. He's not belting out any high notes or anything, but for what it is, he sounds very smooth. He sounds very natural and very genuine on here, and really on this entire album. But yeah, The Raven Still Flies, definitely one of their best longer songs, if you ask me. Speaking of longer songs, the album closes off with a 6-minute ballad, The Garden, which is pretty much just a better version of On the Fault Line, Closure to an Animal, which was the closing number from the Ninth Hour. It is, The Garden is just way more atmospheric, it is way more emotional, and it's just better. It's just a better version of what On the Fault Line was doing. And I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I'm glad they ended off the album on this. It is a very cold, icy, atmospheric, and emotional song. I really think this is another one of those Sonata Arctica tracks that can make you cry if you listen to it on a certain day. But overall, Talviyo was a very sobering experience, listening-wise, and it still stands as one of my favorite albums the band has ever made. Do I think it's as good as Pariah's Child or The Ninth Hour? I would say it's a little bit better than Pariah's Child, but with The Ninth Hour, I'm not totally sure. Talviyo is a more balanced album than The Ninth Hour, I will say, but yeah, the atmosphere on The Ninth Hour is just totally undeniable. I mean, same could be said with Talviyo, but I feel like the atmosphere on The Ninth Hour is a little bit stronger. But contrary to that, I think the more rockin' songs on Talviyo are superior to those on The Ninth Hour. So, as a result, I'm going to rate Talviyo an 8.5 out of 10. This is a very good album, very underrated album for that matter. It has great variety, but I kind of wish there was a little bit more experimentation throughout the album. Not really going into that Cinder Blocks territory or whatever the heck was on Stone's Grow Her Name, but just a little bit of experimentation. Like, maybe play around with some time signatures, maybe play around with some more atmospheric cuts, and maybe even bring back maybe one or two power metal songs. I think that could have done this album a lot of justice, and could have been just a upgraded version of The Ninth Hour, if you ask me. But yeah, 8.5 out of 10. As it stands, Talviyo, a fantastic album. And yeah, before I go, I just want to shout out Henrik Klickenberg for that amazing keyboard melody in Demon's Cage. That's something I forgot to mention. Very, very catchy and very hooky, I will say that. Tony Kakko doesn't really sound as good on this album as he did on some of the previous albums, but he gets the job done. He's tolerable on here, I'll say it that. Elias Vilhinen, probably his best guitar performance to date. He's not just banging out riffs. He's delivering some solos, really good ones. He's not Jani Liimatainen, I'll just put it to you that way, but he's fantastic. Tommy Portimo gets some time in the spotlight, and Posse Koppinen, for once a Sonata Arctica album actually has bass that is not so buried in the mix, and I'm glad they did it because Posse Koppinen's a fantastic bass player. But yeah, everyone did a solid job on here. 8.5 out of 10. A great album. So with that said, that concludes this edition of Magic Metal Mondays. Thank you so much for watching, my fellow YouTube divers. This is WaterDive122 signing out, ready to dive into more fun on YouTube. Thanks for watching.